If the world could agree on one thing, as divided as we are right now, I'm certain we'd all stand in unison in saying that 2002's Halloween Resurrection is the very worst of the storied Halloween franchise. Number 13 on a countdown with a bullet. The movie is... Well, let's kick the intro and we'll talk about what this movie is. Woof, baby. I mean, think about where we were as Halloween little fanboys and fangirls. We had just got Jamie Lee Curtis coming back home to face off with that moody brother of hers. We got one of those endings that you just don't often get in horror history and cinema as a whole. I mean, that ending with what happened at the conclusion of Halloween H2O, it was just breathtaking. And apparently that was a gift as well as a curse, because the studio was hot to trot to push out another one of these things, and thus we got Halloween 8, also known as Halloween Homecoming, before finally settling on this thing they called Halloween Resurrection. Fucking hell. This movie exists because the mother of all retcons, Dimension, decided that they were going to erase Laurie Strode's beheading of Michael Myers at the end of Halloween H2O by explaining that Michael had crushed the larynx of an EMT and stuffed him into his clothes while hiding as a paramedic. Now this guy, Laurie killed this guy, and this guy looked like he was probably on a bowling team or two, and because of that, because of the guilt of that, when this movie starts, Laurie is a resident of Grace Anderson Sanitarium, and this is 3 years removed from Halloween H2O. She's just been sitting there. What the hell has Michael been doing? He's been free for 3 years? Explain this to me. Where was Michael Myers? Did it really take him that long to get back from California? Now, the story goes that Jamie Lee Curtis wanted nothing to do with this because, I mean, she, like the rest of us, felt like they wrapped everything up so beautifully with Halloween H2O. I mean, that ending was just so strong. And at this point, I feel like the studio was just being greedy. I mean, they could have easily rebooted everything like they wound up doing in 2007, but instead they gave us one more entry off of this timeline, this established timeline where 4, 5, and 6 didn't exist, but Halloween H2O is canon, and now Resurrection is as well. Feet to the Fire opening scene here wasn't all that bad. I mean, we've got one of the inmates who's obsessed with serial killers. He's strolling around the yard freely. Apparently security lets him do that. And he's dressed up in a clown mask imitating John Wayne Gacy and spouting killer facts about his reign of terror in his particular town. Now, these two bumbling security guards, they're an easy way to pad the body count for the movie. And then we wind up seeing Laurie heavily medicated, or so we think, sitting in a room staring out a window. Now, as soon as the nurses leave the room after sharing gossip about Laurie Strode, she looks back, spits out the pills that they gave her, and then she stuffs them inside this doll that she's eagerly petting the head of. This night, though, she stands up out of that chair, she looks outside the window, and sure enough, down in the courtyard is her brother, Michael Myers, looking back up at her. Now, she's certain of this. She's in a sanitarium. So is it a hallucination? I mean, what are we looking at here? She looks back and he's gone. But she prepares herself anyway. Now, part of the deal that Jamie Lee made when she agreed to come back for this movie was that she was going to get killed off in the opening moments of the film, which is a real bummer for me and I'm sure everybody else. I don't understand that concept. I don't understand that notion. It reminds me of something they did in Halloween 5, but we'll talk to that when we get to that movie. I mean, this is the best segment of the film, though, so at least there's that. And she goes out like an absolute badass. But, man, this is a rough way to kick off a film. And they literally kick you in the nuts 15 minutes in when we see Laurie fall to her death. Michael ends up gifting this bloody knife of his to the inmate that admires psychopaths. And we get a great voiceover of the inmate running down Michael's kill count and his history before we get our theme song. Again, this... So far, aside from them killing off Laurie Strode, this opening isn't awful. I've seen worse. They could have tweaked a thing or two in this movie, and I think they could have really done something with it, or at least made it a little more palatable for us diehard Halloween fans out there. but we got what we got. And we see Michael walking off after this, and we don't really know where Michael's going. We don't know his plan is. We can only assume he's going back to Haddonfield because that's what he knows. I guarantee he's not going back out to California. He didn't fare too well out there the last time. Now, once we get away from the carnage at the sanitarium, we arrive at Haddonfield University to meet the bright young minds that we assume will be penetrated by Michael Myers' butcher knife at some point in this film. Our final girl is obvious. We meet her right from the get-go. Her name's Sarah. She's played by Bianca Kajic, I believe is how you say her last name. And the scene we meet her in is very reminiscent to Laurie Strode in the classroom of Halloween, or more specifically, Michelle Williams' character in the classroom of H2O. Very studious, sitting there, attention on the teacher, smart, answering the questions. So I do like that they harken back to scenes like this, and even I believe the director of this movie plays Dr. Mixter or Professor Mixter, which is a shout out to Halloween 2. I like that. I like those little Easter eggs. I dig that sort of thing. But compared to her friend Jen, played by the stunning Katie Sackhoff of Mandalorian fame, Sarah's a pretty mild-mannered girl. I mean, she's talking online to a guy that she knows as Deckard, a grad student, but this person is actually Miles, who is a high school freshman, so she's being catfished. Joining Sarah in this 8th Halloween film is Sean Patrick Thomas playing the role of Rudy. We've got the least charismatic member of the American Pie cast on this movie. Tyra Banks is here to make everything look just a little bit prettier. And then, of course, we didn't get LL Cool J, but we do wind up getting Busta Rhymes playing the kung fu loving Freddy. And Busta Rhymes, his character is going to be one of those that I kind of go back and forth on in this movie, and I go back and forth on it every time I rewatch the movie. Now, Busta Rhymes' character, he's the owner and operator of Dangertainment, which is some sort of production company, and he's offered all these kids college grants for their participation in a program where they will wear cameras on their heads and go in and explore the childhood home of Michael Myers. Now, the entire house is rigged with cameras. This is supposed to be some sort of found footage reality show, and they're doing all of this on Halloween, no less. Now, the premise is not a bad one, and I believe I read somewhere that this was originally to be the premise of a standalone horror film with a completely original, unknown serial killer. And somebody liked it so much that they decided to throw the shape in the middle of the whole thing, and it'll just make millions. I mean, what's that old saying, though? Success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan, and no one is taking credit for this fucking thing. But Sarah's weary when she sits through the audition process. She's weary of the whole thing, and the closer she winds up getting to it, she interrupts. There's a pretty fun scene where Freddy is just really into his Wa Chun-Li kung fu movie. Okay, he's sitting in his hotel and he's having a blast, and he's really into this film. And then Sarah interrupts, knocks on the door, tells Freddy, I don't think I can go through with this. I don't like being afraid. This is going to scare me. Freddy is trying to encourage her to go through with it because of all the people that they sat with. He feels like she's the only one that has any star power. She's the only one that these people are going to tune in to watch. And you have to have that to have a successful television program. So he does a good job of talking her up. Specifically, he was taken by the way she screamed in the process, because I think a light got knocked over, startled her. She screamed, broke a glass. He saw dollar signs. The irony in that is I read that Bianca Kajic can't scream in real life. Apparently that's just not a thing that she can do. So when she was supposed to scream in the film, it was dubbed over. Interesting little tidbit. I had no idea about that until about 2 days ago. As soon as the cast, all the press, I mean, it's a big event. It's a big deal. As soon as they get there, though, Michael has already killed one of the camera guys inside the house, hidden his body. And as the group looks through the place, they have a plan to try to be the most interesting cast member for the sake of fame. They start to see things, though, that just don't add up. Stuff that you would think would otherwise be in an evidence locker somewhere, if everything, of course, was legit. Like, why would the cops just leave that stuff there? Or more specifically, why would somebody leave any of that there? You could sell that on eBay and make a but there's a lot of weird shit in this house. We learn, of course, over the duration of the film that Freddy has staged quite a few jump scares in this house because he feels like it's going to be boring otherwise. And this is probably the one house that you didn't need to stage any jump scares in, Freddy. I think you made it overreached on that one. Now, Sarah has asked Decker to watch her on the show. And he's a little irritated because his freshman buddy, his obnoxious freshman buddy, has secured them a spot at a senior Halloween party with a lot of beautiful women, and they think it's a great opportunity for them, and on the surface it is. But Decker and his lady love, he has to tune in for her broadcast debut. So at the Halloween party, he kind of barricades himself into an office a little bit, fires up a perfect stranger's computer, and just sits there at the desk and watches the kickoff to Dangertainment. Now, the idea of people being able to log in and watch this whole thing unfold is a pretty cool concept. You know, it gives us some fun as the kids in the house run into Michael. And when they run into Michael, the viewers that gather with Deckard in that office, they laugh at how fake everything looks. It takes away a little bit from the horror that's going on in the Myers house and with these victims. But, you know, you have to find the gems in this movie. You have to find something to compliment here because it's a little bit rough watching. And that's, then we get to the scene. And you know what the scene is. Then we get to the scene. We've got Michael Myers and he's walking through the house, right? And then all of a sudden as he rounds a corner, you see a glimpse of another white mask behind this Michael Myers. And sure enough, it's another Michael Myers. Now, we get a little bit further into the scene, a floorboard creaks, Freddy is in the Michael Myers costume in the front, whips around and flips out. He's assuming that this is the cameraman that Michael's already killed. And the cameraman is dressing as Michael Myers, trying to take some of Freddy's glory. And Freddy berates him, he cusses at him, he tells him where Nora is in the garage of the house, and for him to go join Nora. So not only, I want you to really think about what happens in the scene. Not only is Michael Myers cursed at, he's impersonated, he's cussed at, he's dismissed, and he's given a map to a victim in the garage. And all of this causes Michael to turn and walk away. It's really something that you have to see to believe.
Charlie, where the fuck you been at, man? Don't you know we've been looking all over this motherfucker for you? And why the hell you dressed like me anyway? I said, what you looking at me like that for? Huh? You don't get it? You don't get it? Your shit ain't working up there or something?
Can you imagine somebody trying that shit on Jason Voorhees? I mean, seriously, Freddy, you know, he's a little bit more cerebral, but, you know, Jason Voorhees is going to hack that guy up, and then he's going to go to the garage. I just don't understand why they did this. And it's one of those things, I'm a diehard Halloween guy. I'm so loyal to a fault. And this scene is the closest I ever came to getting up and leaving a movie theater watching a Halloween movie. But yeah, that happened. And, you know, the kids wind up discovering Freddy. You know, he attacks one of them in his mask, but they all swarm him, which I don't know why that doesn't happen more often. I guess, you know, we got that a little bit in Halloween Kills, and we saw how that whole thing turned out. But, you know, they swarm him. He tells them to turn the camera off, and then he reveals it's Freddy under the mask, and he tells them, we've got to make it interesting. It's not going to get clicks, views, attention if it's just kids walking around a dirty, decrepit house. We have to do something to spice it up. This gives us that gag where we get to a point where a girl's screaming at the top of the stairs. Everybody that knows Freddy's under the mask, they're not taking anything seriously at that point. And then the real Michael Myers steps out and heads roll. I mean, literally heads roll. You know, and again, having viewers, you know, more specifically this little creepy virgin that's catfishing Sarah, having them watching these cameras really helps her once she realized this is all real. And the house, I believe, is rigged so they can't get out until the next morning. So her being able to communicate with these people that are watching on cameras, because she had a sidekick or some sort of device, whatever they had back in the day. But Deckard/Miles is able to tell her where Michael is so that she can make sure that she's not there. Builds the tension. I mean, being trapped in that small house and you're locked in with Michael Myers, even this version of Michael Myers bearing down on you, it's a little unsettling, you know, even though, you know, the ending is painfully fucking stupid. Just, It involves Busta Rhymes beating up Michael Myers a couple of different times. And I know Mike's kind of getting old. You know, we all are. But what a way to disrespect the legend. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? But Decker gets a shout out on the news for his help once everybody's in free and clear. And then we get a coroner jump scare when she goes to examine what she is told is a dead infamous serial killer, and she's all by herself, of course, when she does it, so she probably deserved what she got. So what did this movie kill? What did it get right? Credit where credit is due. I mean, having Michael Myers in that confined space with these kids and, you know, cameras attached to their heads, it made for some fairly frightening scenes. You know, the scene where Michael kind of comes at the guy through the mirror, I did not expect that. When the redheaded girl who's trying to bang the guy down in the basement or the sewer, when she moves her flashlight or her light on her camera over and she sees him, that's a little much. I mean, there were a couple of parts that gave you that good, okay, I'm in a horror movie now. But just a couple, though. And this is really, if I have to find something nice to say, you know, the mask wasn't bad. I mean, I've seen worse masks. We certainly have seen worse masks. I thought the cast was okay, given what they were working with. And again, the opening scene, I mean, if we had gotten this in a sanitarium, like, and I know Jamie Lee didn't want to stay for the whole movie, but if we'd have gotten that sort of stretched out for maybe even half of the movie, I could have really got behind it. It might have saved it, maybe made it a little bit better. I dug the opening scene. I thought they did some good things there. It reminded me of Halloween 2 because, you know, Halloween, the events lead her into a hospital for Halloween 2, even though she's laying around in a bed for the whole goddamn movie. But this sort of similar, the events of Halloween H2O lead her into this hospital under completely different circumstances. But that scene was far and away the best thing about this 8th Halloween film, for me. You know, as far as what killed this movie, everything killed this movie. I mean, why is Michael Myers such a pussy in this film? You know, Busta Rhymes completely dismissed him. Told him to get the fuck out of Dodge, verbatim. Said those words to him. And he did. Then he got beat up and burned, presumably to death by the guy. And, you know, again, for the love of Christ, can we please stop seeing the man's eyes in his mask? It's scarier when he's the shape. When he's the shape of a man. He's evil as the shape of a man. It's brilliant. It's simple. Why overcomplicate things? I don't care what color his eyes are. I don't care how expressive he is. I sure as shit don't care about a tear rolling down his cheek, and we'll get to that later. But just leave the mask be. So this is the low point for the franchise for me. I mean, this is a major letdown. It's a heartbreaker coming off of Halloween H2O. I scored this a 4 out of 10. That's the best possible score I can give it. There were so many missteps, and I realized that Jamie Lee didn't want to be a part of the film. But you knocked out a pretty good opening scene, and then it just sort of fell apart and got away from you. It happens. I get it. Every franchise has a bad movie, and this is the stinker in the Halloween franchise. And there's a couple of more coming up that I can really be okay with never watching again. We'll get to those when we get to those, but there were a lot of different things they could have done. There were a lot of options on the table. And, you know, on this desk behind me are Taking Shape, the book Taking Shape, and Taking Shape 2. And in Taking Shape, they go through the entire history of the Halloween films that were made. And Taking Shape 2 is very interesting because they talk about all the sequels that were in discussion or some that were even close to production. Very interesting stuff. I would strongly recommend you guys checking those out if you're a fan of this franchise. But Halloween Resurrection is easily missable. It's 4 out of 10. It's number 13 on this countdown. It will always be number 13 on this countdown. We're going to get to number 12 next. I hope that you guys stick around for number 12. I hope that you guys stick around for the long haul. Subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. If you like horror movies and you like talking about them, like the video, hit the notification thing so you know when I'm doing whatever I'm doing on here. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this. So until next time, Aging Gracefully, I'm Matthew Essex. I'll see you guys on the other side. Happy Halloween.